Bonjour, bonjour. All right, so this is, it's like Christmas came early. Like, I logged in this morning and I saw Paul and Kurt from EtherCycle post a video called Fuck Google Page Speed. Ooh, like this is gonna be really interesting. I'm gonna watch the video with you guys. I'm gonna react over it. I know their previous stance because I've been following Kurt for a while. Total disclaimer, I think he's an amazing Shopify expert. So is Paul. They bring tons of value to the ecosystem. So if you're not subscribed to their channel yet, you should absolutely do that. Listen to their podcast. But I think they're very wrong on this subject. So let's actually just see the video together and go from there.
We had 2 or 3 questions about page speed, including, this is the one I want to read. They said, I want to hear about Gymshark. I watched a vlog from their CEO about how they're worth $2.45 billion, and I remember seeing some page score from them, and it was lowish. Oh, yes. The billion-dollar valuation darling Gymshark, which is a great brand. They've been around a while. They're one of the first Plus customers, and they do outrageous.
I didn't know they were one of the first Plus customers. That's pretty cool. I also didn't think it was 2.4 billion. I thought it was like 1 billion. They just announced it. But all right.
Levels of success. I'm going to run them through Google PageSpeed, and we're going to see what they get.
Is the person asking this question fucking with me?
Are they personally messing with you?
I think they're fucking.
Why? Why do you think that?
What does Gymshark do to be worth $2.4 billion?
They sell stuff online? I remember seeing a thing where they had published their financials, and they had an astonishing amount of cash on hand. Okay,
this isn't the direction I thought this video was going to take. Quick, like setting the scene. Who you're seeing now is Kurt. He's a Shopify expert. He does more of the marketing, conversion rate optimization, but he definitely a developer as well. The other dude is like, from what I understand, their chief technical co-founder, chief technical officer. He's like the hardcore developer. And it's funny because usually hardcore developers are like kind of anarchists deep inside. Like they're skeptical of everything they hear. And clearly you see that happening now.
So excited about this page speed score.
But stop. This is not cromulent to our problem, but do they sell billions of dollars or at least hundreds of millions of dollars every year?
I haven't looked into it at all. I would love to have them on the podcast and make the case for it.
I would too. If you want to come on the YouTube channel, come.
August 17th, 2020, there is an article in Forbes how Gymshark became a $1.3 billion brand and what we can learn.
By having SoftBank and various private equity firms.
Paul's not buying it, is he?
Pump them full of cash and then say, see, they're worth $2 billion now.
No, I remember seeing this online where they had shared their financials, and they really, it was a very solvent business. And they started early in e-commerce. I know you don't want to believe it, but I think it's entirely plausible. Some people can be outrageous levels of successful. That's not going to happen to everybody.
I don't trust anything that's like A, buzzwords, and then B, not public financials. Like their entire financial state is just based on how much money other SoftBank gave them.
All right, they don't have a SoftBank investment. I think I'm quite convinced that this one's legit.
As a side note, SoftBank is like this huge Japanese venture capital fund that focuses on like Uber and things like that.
Anyway, so we could agree that it's a big successful brand.
Yes.
Regardless of where the dispute is what the valuation is, if it's legitimate. But either way, this is...
I thought it was going to be about page speed.
A big boy brand. Gymshark's page speed score. A Shopify Plus darling. A beautiful website. What is it? Take a guess.
Let's go with... I think they got a lot of widgets on there, so I'm going to go with like 18.
Okay. Is that desktop or mobile?
We're just going with the mobile store because that's always the worst one Google gives you.
6. 6. As in 3 plus 3 is what? That's their page speed score. 6.
Okay, I just want to touch on something. It's true, Google always gives the mobile the worst score. And the reason because of that is that actually mobile has a much tougher time processing requests than your Chrome browser on your desktop. So if you have a whole bunch of requests and a whole bunch of stuff you need to load on your website, a mobile is obviously going to have a much harder time doing that than a PC and a desktop. So the score is lower, but there's more to the story that I'll probably explain a bit later because I'm sure they're going to touch on it. But 6? All right, well, I knew it actually, but okay, still, because I tested them a while back. Still, I don't think it's 6, but anyway.
Well, I think if they could get that up to at least 50, they'd be worth $100 billion. That's what I've been told.
And that's the problem with PageSpeed score, is it's like, here is a quantifiable metric that it is essentially presented to you as, if you can get a perfect score, it solves all your problems. Suddenly, your conversion rate will...
True, that is a problem. Kurt is 100% right about that. It's framed in that way that if you can have 100 out of 100, your life is going to be perfect. And it's not even possible to have 100 out of 100. So true.
Your conversion rate will go up and your revenue will go up and your search engine ranking position will go up. And I don't know if any of that's true, but I do know that a store with a PageSpeed score of 6 has a obscene amount of cash on hand and is extremely successful by all measures.
Okay, so this is something I knew he was going to bring up. I had a feeling that this, if you follow him on his Facebook group, which again you should do, I knew this was going to come up. First of all, Google often reminds people that store speed is important. They remind it all the time. In May, they said again that they will take it and they are taking it into account into SEO. Second of all is conversion and bounce rate. Now, let me walk you through this situation. Gymshark is a brand most people know, especially in the UK, because it's a UK-based brand. They sell gym stuff. So when in the UK, you're sitting on the subway, you're with your phone, and you see an ad of Gymshark, you're like, huh, that's a cool ad. And you're going to click on it because you're interested by the ad. And you're going to be a little bit more patient waiting for the page to load because you know you're going to get Gymshark. And you know Gymshark, you know it's a reputable brand, and you know what you're going to get. So it's not really fair comparing Gymshark with you. You're not Gymshark. You see, no one knows about your brand. And when people see your ad on the subway and they're like, huh, that's a cool ad, and they click on it, their level of patience is just going to be way lower than with a brand that they know. That's just, you gotta hook them immediately. And I also think that saying like, well, you know, Gymshark has a bad store speed, so that means store speed doesn't matter. I know I'm oversimplifying it, and I know that's not really what he's saying, but it's not really cause and effect. I mean, I don't buy it. Like, it's not because this brand did something and they were able to be successful that if you replicate that, you're going to get there as well. You probably won't. And Google is actively saying to us, like, hey guys, like, you should really pay attention to store speed. Now, I'll explain later why they're saying that, but all right, let's keep going.
And this is coming up a lot again because Shopify added that tool.
The performance tool is as part of the analytics dashboard, but it's
part of the analytics dashboard. I actually made a video yesterday about it. Not only is it part of the analytics dashboard, Shopify is now slapping a score under your team. In like when you click on online store, you see your store speed result. It's not out on all stores yet. I made a video about this yesterday. Yeah, I'm not.
It's Lighthouse.
It's literally the PageSpeed score.
It's literally your Lighthouse is the term for the open source version of PageSpeed. And so Google's like, hey, you could build this into the store. And they do a little better job in that it does your most traffic collection page, your most traffic product page, and your home page, and then it averages the score, I believe. So it's a little more relevant.
That's just extra steps, though. It's not like changing the score in any way. The scoring methodology. The
methodology does not change. And so I really and truly believe PageSpeed is not a good way to measure the speed of a store.
I'm honestly done with that.
Okay, so now we're getting to where Kurt Paul and I really disagree. Now, again, disclaimer, I'm a Shopify expert. I'm really focused on page speed. Some people are going to say, well, you're just trying to make money out of this. Not really. I've been doing page speed for a year and a half, and turns out that now everyone's talking about it, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to say my part about this. Google page speed is not a good way of measuring your Shopify speed. That's what he just said. Something I'm paraphrasing. We build a tool that measures your store speed. Testmystorespeed.com. Building a tool like that is really not easy. There's basically this cat and mouse game happening between developers and people that build site speed tools, because it's very hard to measure how fast a site is going. You can be like, well, it's not hard. You just go to the site, you turn on the timer, and you see when it works. Okay, but that's a visual test. You can't scale that, and you can't automate that. So you need a computer to kind of figure out at what point the site is ready to load. And then there's all these metrics of ways we have tried to figure that out. So back in the days, we said, well, we're just going to do when the page is completely loaded. Turns out that's not a good way of doing it either, because maybe I can already play with the page, but there's some stuff in the backend still loading that's really not affecting my experience. So then you had these page loads of like 200 seconds, and that didn't make any sense either. So then Google was like, okay, well, why don't we do first time as soon as something is shown on the screen? So as soon as the time to interactive, as soon as they can start interacting, a visitor can start interacting with a website. That should be a good metric. But then developers were like, oh, that's what you're doing? Well, no problem. I'll just put like a little symbol up in the top of my website that's going to pop up in half a second and that you can click on. And that's, hey, time to interactive is 0.5 of a second. There you go. I just hacked page speed. And so there's always been this way of trying to like cat and mouse game, basically. And what Google's doing now is they're taking a whole bunch of metrics and kind of aggregating that data and taking an average out of it to try to come up with the most realistic way of judging how fast your site is, or how fast any site is. Now, they're the first one to say it's not perfect yet. There's still a lot of room for improvement. Nothing in life is black or white. But to say that it's a horrible way, I strongly disagree with that. Now, let's keep going.
Store speed to begin with. It's like if you're...
Why? Tell me why.
Because it's sort of like...
Oh, Nelly. Okay, but Paul, like, I understand there's frustration here, but literally the CTO of Shopify tweeted out like 2 days ago that on his spare time, the dude checks like speed reports of Shopify stores. He runs random Shopify stores through Google PageSpeed as a hobby. And this is coming from the top of Shopify. As a Shopify expert saying that like, oh, I'm done with PageSpeed score. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, the dude is clearly brilliant. Paul knows, you know what you're talking about. It's kind of strange to say that. But all right. Okay, why?
Is it less than 10 seconds a page? Or less than like 8 seconds a page? I've stopped caring. I don't care anymore. It's like a medical test. I can't think of an equivalent medical test about that.
Okay, let's do a test. You and I, let's do a test right now. Eight seconds. And that's with me entertaining you. That's with you knowing something's going to come up. 8 seconds is a long break. 10 seconds is a long break. Come on, guys. If I started out this video, this YouTube video, with 10 seconds of silence, you would have clicked out. Guarantee at 1,000,000%, you would have been like, what the hell? No. Maybe if like a top YouTuber like PewDiePie would do a 10-second of silence in the beginning of this video because everyone knows this person, maybe that wouldn't affect his watch time. Maybe if Amazon has a 10-second delay, it's not gonna. But me, I have a 10-second delay in the beginning of my video, I'm done. You gotta hook people within those 3 seconds. And the same applies to your website. 8 seconds is a long time. I mean, I see your ad. I'm intrigued by it. You're gonna make me wait 8 seconds? for me to see your hook, you're starting at a disadvantage. I don't agree with you here, Paul. It's a lot.
Where it's just like, well, here's the number, and if you're over this number, we got to look at it. But if you're under this number, it's not worth worrying about. Like, just stop caring about it at all.
I assume cholesterol, your weight.
Yeah,
well, to a point.
You could be underweight.
There's a very wide range in there.
But it's like your score can't be too fast.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just these people are like, well, my page speed score is this, so can I get it? Can I shave an extra half second off? It's like, I stop caring. Stop caring about this. There's other bigger problems in your business.
True, there's a lot of people saying like, hey, Andrew, you say page speed score should be under 5, minus 5.4. Can you do that extra 0.4 seconds? Yeah, you're wasting your time. He's right about that. But I still don't agree on the 8 to 10 seconds. I think that's too long.
Than that, where you can get better money. If you like put together better email sequences, that'll get you 10 times as much money as lowering your page speed score by a second. So stop freaking worrying about it.
Okay. Here, Paul makes a really, really good point. Yes. I mean, for me, my threshold is if you're making under $10,000 a month in revenue, don't worry about page speed. Like Paul said, you have a million other things to worry about that. As a Shopify store owner, it's your duty to find the lowest hanging fruit. Like, where can I invest money and it's going to be the highest return on investment? And there's a lot of cases. There's a lot of cases where Shopify store speed is not a good, like an interesting investment for you to make. I've seen people with like horrible stores with no retargeting, with no email sequences that want to do speed optimizations. And in this case, Paul is 100% right. No, focus on all those things first. Totally agree with you here.
It's like, get the beam out of your eye before you worried about the splinter in your page speed score.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what makes way more sense if we're looking at page speed is the actual load time. And it makes it tough to compare because you could use different tools for this. I like Pingdom tools. Gymshark loads in 2.15 seconds on their homepage, and their page size is 3.7 megs.
Yeah, perfect.
As a metric.
Okay, so we just touched about why total load time is not necessarily a good indicator. Now, depending on which tool you use, what they show you as total load time, it's not the full load time. But anyway, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The metrics he just said about Gymshark, I forgot how much it is. But yes, that sounded like really good metrics. As a general rule, there's 3 things you can kind of quickly look at. You want to be below 2.9 megabytes. You want to be under the 119 requests, and you want to be under 5 seconds preferably. Like, again, we have a speed checker tool, testmystorespeed.com. I think it's better than Pingdom because you have to pay for Pingdom. It used to be free, not anymore. And testmystorespeed.com is also Shopify specific. We're still working on it. But so we test over like 1,000 something stores every day, and you can see the averages of what we test and what we came up with so far. And so if you're under 5 seconds for ads, if you're running ads mobile, under 5 seconds, guys, come on, please. 2.9 megabytes for your page size, and then requests like 120 requests. Like, really try to stay under those.
I think if your homepage is less than 5 megs, you're fine. I think if you're
5 megs is a lot. You could probably shave some off of that.
The homepage loads in 2.5 seconds or less, cold load, you're completely fine.
That's fantastic. 2.5 seconds. If you have 2.5 seconds cold load, meaning the first time you access the site, that's fantastic. Chapeau to you. I agree with you here, Kurt.
And like that's a fast 2.15 seconds on a cold load on the homepage.
You're not fine. You're very good.
Yes.
You're great.
Yes.
Yes.
And yet this site gets 6 on a page speed score.
I mean, I was working on a store for us this week. It hasn't.
On a mobile page speed. You see, Pingdom, I'm not sure, it's been a while, but I don't think they look at mobile. Again, this thing is really good, but it's still not as powerful as the browser on your desktop. So,
launched yet. It had a fresh theme install on it. It was a brand new newborn baby of a store. No one had seen it. It's not public. It hasn't been poked with. There's nothing that has been changed on it, and its page speed score was like 26. And Shopify was like, "Oh, this is lower than average for your scores." I've yet to see. It's weird.
Okay, Paul. Like, I don't agree with you on that one, man. So fine, but you should know that not every team, and you know this, not every theme is as well coded. I mean, Shopify has the Shopify App Store and the Shopify Theme Store. Theme, I can't say Theme Store. Anyway, you get the point. And on those, they offer products that are just horrible code. And I think I've seen episodes about this where they talk about there's some very low quality code on some products on the theme store and on some products on the App Store. Depending on which theme you use, there's some themes that out of the box, brand new, even from big names, that just don't score well, that are just bad or just not well coded. That's just how it is. So if you use a brand new theme, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're still using someone else's code, and that doesn't mean that that code was efficiently written. Again, a little plug, with Test My Store Speed, we actually try to detect which theme you're using, and we're saying what that theme scores out of the box brand new. And they don't all score the same thing. So, you know.
On this Shopify score, I've yet to see a score that's higher than average. It's all like Lake Wobegon, where everyone's above average. Every store is below average in page speed score. I don't know how that manages to happen.
Look, the guy's clearly frustrated about the Shopify tool of the page speed, not only Shopify, but also Google tool about measuring your page speed. And he makes a good point. You know, I've yet to see one above average. I see them because that's my job, but he's completely right. Like, I don't know how Shopify is doing this below or above average. I made a whole video about basically me being not happy and saying how not happy I am with the Shopify tool. I posted it yesterday. You can check it out. But I mean, the dude, he makes a good point here.
Happen.
Was that what was the name of that NPR show? Something Prairie?
Yeah, Prairie Home Companion.
Prairie Home Companion.
I'm like wrong age, wrong culture. Like, I'm born in Europe. I'm a French Canadian. Like, I have no idea what
I've listened to dozens of episodes of that, and I'll tell you, I still don't get it. I kept listening to it, trying to figure it out. And I'm like, what is going on here? I just was absolutely baffled by Prairie Home Companion. I had a landlord, and then my landlord heard me listening to it. She's like, "You like Prairie Home Companion?" She gave me like a dozen CDs. She's like, "I got the full anthology." Oh boy. I invested a lot of time in Prairie Home Companion just to figure out that I don't understand it, and I have to live with that.
And then Garrison Keillor turned out to be a little touchy.
Oh, yeah. So, page speed score is not a valid tool.
That's a big statement.
According to me, subjectively. Just use the actual load time. I think ultimately, it's like sound quality on this podcast. A fast site doesn't hurt. A slow site doesn't help. But
a fast site doesn't hurt. A slow site doesn't help. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Don't think it is like the be-all, end-all, wildly important thing that it's been made out to me. Just don't over-prioritize it.
Yeah, I think this podcast has above-average sound quality. But
I hope so. I spent so much on this crap.
I know, but I think, any percent.
Okay, so I've been making views. So sound is hugely, total side note, sound is hugely important, apparently, in YouTube videos and podcasts. And this may seem like duh, but you can see my first videos. They're horrible sound. And it hugely affects it. And I invested tons in it. And so bringing the sound up and investing in sound is clearly worth its investment. So in that, I don't really get their comparison, because investing in speed, depending on who you are and depending on your situation, can clearly be like worth its investment. So I don't really get, like, it's more confirming that speed is important, because Kurt clearly invested a lot in sound. That is nice sound, Kurt. Like, chapeau, bravo.
That we increase it anymore to be like, oh no, it's got to be like an utterly perfect, pro level radio show. It's like, it's not worth the time. You got better things to do.
Yeah, you very quickly get to diminishing.
That's some nice equipment that he has there. Like,
returns. And so like spending all this time on, trying to mess with your page speed score when really the content on the site, the offer, your ads, your email, like there are so many other efforts that are worth worrying about. It's just what's so insidious about it is it gives you a damn grade.
Well, I'm just so mad. I am so mad.
Ay, Nelly. Okay, so the grade. I get it. I've seen Kurt say this before. I hate the grade. I get that. And when I was building the page tool, he said this like a long time ago. And when I was building the page tool, I was like, he makes a good point because the grade, it's just going to scare people, piss people off. It might not be a good idea. So we actually took away the grade on our speed tool and people panicked even more because we completely removed context. I mean, on Google PageSpeed, there is already no context really. So if you remove the grade, you're just stuck with a bunch of colors. It doesn't work. I get what he's trying to say. I completely understand it. I tried to do it without a grade. And no, it's even worse without a grade. So yeah, it's like a necessary evil.
Mad, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's like I'm so mad that Shopify is putting this on everyone's pages and in front of everyone's face.
It's torturing them.
We had enough,
you're torturing merchants.
We had enough people worrying about this before, and now you're shoving it in their faces as like an official Shopify tool from Shopify, and
telling you your site's slow.
They're actively telling you your site's below average. It's worse than all the other stores. Like, what the fuck? Of course, all the store owners are going to freak out. And you're telling them according to a shit criteria. Like, this is not actively helping people in any way whatsoever.
I completely agree with Paul on that one. The way Shopify is currently implementing it, it's not helping anyone. I make a living out of speed optimization. I'm pro speed optimization, but right now it's just causing more panic than anything else. It gives zero context, and it's just bad. It's not good.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that, from our end, that's what's so frustrating about it. It's just day after day, people like genuinely worried about it, and I have to talk them off the ledge.
It's like a joke too. Like, I know it's a joke in the Facebook group. Like, everyone always tags me whenever this comes up, and I want to put in like this scanner's head exploding gif. But it's like it's still every day, every week, new people come in and are like, "Hey guys, I'm worried about this." And whenever people mention that they're worrying about it in the store, I'm always kind of like, "Wait a minute, are they fucking with us?" Because like they know that they know how much we hate this, or are they just doing this to get a rise, or do they legitimately not know? Are they new people that don't know?
No, it's because everyone is now discovering this. Everyone got to discover on the same day that their store is slow.
Yeah, it's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way this has been cut lets me to believe this is part of a bigger episode, so make sure to check out the full episode on YouTube or in his podcast. I'm assuming this is a podcast episode. So a couple of quick things. We disagree because I don't think it's black or white. I'm sure he doesn't think it either, but he's kind of presenting it like that. But, it depends. We're building case studies right now where you can literally see that increasing page speed optimization does help conversion. Again, it's not great for every store owners. There's a lot of store owners that have other lower hanging fruit to think about, to do, like to take care of, but it does matter for a specific part of the Shopify community. So saying like it's completely wrong, I don't think that's very nuanced. I don't think it's a very good representation. Also saying like clearly this does matter because again, the top of Google is very occupied with this and the top of Shopify is very occupied with this. And this is me speculating, but I think that especially Americans kind of miss that point, is that the way these big companies are trying to grow these days is outside of the Western world, like outside of United States, outside of Canada, and where they really have the land grab, the market share that they have to grab is developing areas of the world where the internet is not as fast as with us. I mean, Kurt is sitting somewhere in Chicago with probably fantastic internet, and he's like, I don't understand. It loads super fast. But, you know, if you're Shopify and you're attacking China as a market or India as a market, there's a lot of areas where the reception is just horrible, and there it makes all the difference. So I think that's why they're putting so much attention towards it, these big companies, and I think that's why they're going to only push it even harder, and they're going to reward people that do good page speed optimization, because it's in the advantage of these big companies to do it. So that's my guess to why they're doing it, why they're literally pushing it down our throat. Anyway, I hope this video gave you some value. Again, I would only worry about speed optimization if you do above $10,000 a month, and if your store has more than 119 requests. That's really kind of the limit. If your store loads slower than 5 seconds, 7 seconds max, and if your store is higher than like 3 megabytes, if the page is higher than 3 megabytes, then I would start thinking about looking into it. Again, it's going to depend on a whole bunch of things. Where we see the biggest impact in store is a lot of mobile ads, discovery ads. And if you do a speed optimization there, it really makes an impact. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Definitely follow Kurt and Paul. Follow their YouTube channel. Follow their Shopify podcasts. I'll put the links down below. If you take Shopify seriously, I mean, seriously, these guys provide huge value. They just start discussions in the community, and I think it's super important for the community to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. There's much more videos where I teach Shopify or I try to talk about Shopify, and I'll see you in another one. Ciao.